There are 7 towns in Arizona where $2,000 a month buys you a genuinely good life, and almost nobody is talking about them on purpose. While everyone fights over overpriced apartments in Phoenix and Scottsdale, these 7 cities sit quietly in the desert with low rent, big skies, and enough left at the end of the month to actually enjoy your life. One of them is the sunniest city on the entire planet, certified by Guinness, where the sun shines so much it's basically a threat. Another is a former copper mining town turned artist colony glued to the side of a mountain, where a 1-bedroom can run under $900. One grows 90% of America's winter lettuce, which means your salad has a hometown and you've never once thanked it. And one sits directly across the river from a wall of Nevada casinos, where the rent is cheap and the temptation is cheaper. Subscribe now, because if you skip this and overpay for some apartment you can't afford, that's a decision you made with full information. The like button is right there. It has feelings, use it. Let's count down. Before we start, one ground rule, because someone in the comments is already typing. We're talking about a real budget for one person. Rent, utilities, groceries, gas, and a little fun money, all inside $2,000 a month. That last part matters more than you'd think, because Arizona has a secret line item that quietly destroys budgets, and its name is air conditioning. The average power bill across the state sat around $160 a month in 2024, and it kept climbing through 2025. But that's the average. Down on the desert floor in the dead heat of July, running the AC all day can push your electric bill past $200, even $250. So the real trick to living well here on a tight budget isn't just cheap rent, it's elevation. The higher and cooler the town, the smaller the bill, the more your $2,000 actually stretches. Keep that in the back of your mind, because it's going to decide this entire ranking. Let's make the math real for a second, because $2,000 sounds like either a lot or nothing, depending on where you've been renting. In a cheap Arizona town, picture a 1-bedroom apartment around $900. Add a power bill that swings between $80 in the mild months and $250 in the worst of summer. Throw in groceries, maybe $350 for one person who cooks at home, plus gas, phone, internet, and the streaming subscriptions. You swear you'll cancel and never do. In the right town, you land somewhere around $1,500 or $1,600 and still have a few hundred left over for a dinner out, a tank of gas for a weekend trip, and the rare miracle of putting a little into savings. That right there is the whole pitch. Not just surviving in Arizona, but actually having margin. Now let's see who delivers it. And no, before anyone asks, Flagstaff is not on this list. Neither is Sedona, Prescott Valley, or Lake Havasu City. They're gorgeous. They're also priced like they know it. A 1-bedroom in Flagstaff runs north of $1,700, Sedona starts closer to $1,900, and their overall cost of living sits roughly 20% above the national average. Beautiful places, wrong budget. We're here for the towns that deliver the dream without the mortgage-sized rent. So with the rules set, let's get into it. Number 7. Cottonwood. We're starting with a splurge pick, the one that barely squeaks onto a $2,000 budget, and we're starting here for a reason. Cottonwood sits in the Verde Valley, in the green heart of Arizona wine country, and it is genuinely one of the prettiest small towns in the state. Picture rolling high desert, the Verde River winding through cottonwood trees, vineyards on the hillsides, and an old town stuffed with tasting rooms, art galleries, and little restaurants where everybody seems to know each other. It's home to about 12,500 people, and the climate is the gentle kind, with summer highs around the mid-70s and mild winters. None of that 110-degree desert nonsense. Here's the kicker that makes Cottonwood punch way above its size. It's 20 minutes from Sedona. You get the same jaw-dropping red rock country, the same hiking, the same desert sunsets that look fake in photos, except you're not paying Sedona's insane prices to look at them. You can spend your Saturday wandering Dead Horse Ranch State Park and your Saturday night doing a wine crawl through Old Town and still drive home to a town where the cost of living lands right around the national average. So why is it only number 7? Honest answer. The rent. A 1-bedroom in Cottonwood now averages around $1,400, and that number has jumped roughly 14% in a single year, the fastest climb on this entire list. On a $2,000 budget, $1,400 for rent leaves you with $600 for everything else, which is tight. Doable, but tight. This is the town you pick if scenery is your #1 priority, or if you're a couple splitting the rent, in which case Cottonwood instantly becomes one of the best deals in the Southwest. For a single person counting every dollar, it's the cushion-free option. Beautiful, but it'll make you do math. And the towns ahead get a lot more comfortable. One more thing in Cottonwood's favor before we move on, because it's worth saying out loud. This is a town that punches way above its size for things to actually do. You've got the Verde Canyon Railroad nearby, a scenic train ride through Red Rock country that feels like a vacation you didn't pay for. You've got Jerome just up the hill, a former ghost town clinging to a mountainside now full of art studios and supposedly a few resident ghosts who never got the eviction notice. And the wine scene is real, not a gimmick. The Verde Valley has become a genuine destination for Arizona wine, so on a Cottonwood budget you can spend a Sunday afternoon sipping local reds on a patio, while everyone back home pays triple for a worse view. It's the kind of small town where retirement money and remote work money both stretch a long way. The rent is the only thing standing between Cottonwood and a much higher spot on this list. Number 6. Bullhead City. Now we head northwest to the banks of the Colorado River for a town that is equal parts vacation and value. Bullhead City sits right on the water, about 42,000 people with a median age around 56, which tells you exactly who already figured this place out. The retirees got here first. They usually do. The big draw is the river. We're talking boating, jet skis, fishing, and long, lazy days on the water that feel like a permanent holiday. And then there's the secret weapon sitting directly across the river, Laughlin, Nevada. A whole strip of casinos, buffets, concerts, and entertainment, glittering on the far bank, close enough that you can live the cheap Arizona life and cross over for the Vegas-light experience whenever you feel like donating to a slot machine. On the budget, Bullhead City delivers. A one-bedroom averages around $950, the median rent sits near $1,030, and the overall cost of living lands right around the national average, give or take. That leaves you real breathing room inside $2,000. Cheap waterfront-adjacent living, casino nightlife on tap, and short commutes. So far, so good. But here's the part the real estate brochures whisper. This is the desert floor, and the desert floor does not forgive. Summer highs in July and August routinely hit 110 degrees, and that is not the dry heat isn't so bad kind of hot. That's the open the oven door, your steering wheel is a weapon kind of hot, which means your air conditioner runs around the clock for months, and your electric bill turns into a horror movie. Remember that elevation rule from the start of the video. Bullhead City is exactly the kind of place where it bites. Budget $200 or more for summer power and you'll be fine. There's also a soft local economy, with unemployment running around 11%. So this is a town for people who already have income coming in, retirees, remote workers, fixed income folks, not job hunters. Survive the summer though, and the other 9 months on the river are pretty close to perfect. And let me paint that picture because it's a good one. From roughly October to May, Bullhead City is the kind of place where mornings on the water are calm and warm, the snowbirds roll in with their RVs and their boats, and the whole town settles into an easy, sun-soaked rhythm. The Colorado River here is wide and blue and genuinely beautiful, and waterfront-adjacent living at these prices is almost unheard of anywhere else in the country. Cross the bridge into Laughlin and you've got casino buffets that cost about what a fast food combo does back home, riverside concerts, and enough cheap entertainment to fill a calendar. It's a community built for people who want their retirement or their remote work life to feel a little like a permanent holiday with a balance sheet that actually works. Just go in clear-eyed about July and August. Treat the summer power bill as part of the rent, and Bullhead City rewards you the rest of the year. Number 5. Yuma? If you take nothing else from this video, take this. Yuma is, according to Guinness World Records, the sunniest city on the entire planet. We're talking around 4,000 hours of sunshine a year when the average American city gets less than 2,800. The sun shines here at least 91% of daylight hours. It is also, per the record books, the driest and least humid populated place in the entire lower 48 states. If you are a person who is meteorologically allergic to clouds, congratulations, you've found your homeland. And it's cheap. Yuma is one of the most affordable cities in all of Arizona, with the cost of living running about 12% below the national average. A one-bedroom averages somewhere around $940, a two-bedroom a bit over $1,100, and groceries and housing both come in under the national norm. On $2,000 a month, Yuma gives you genuine room to breathe. Here's a fact that's going to live in your head now. Yuma County grows about 90% of all the leafy vegetables eaten in the United States between November and March. They call it the winter lettuce capital of the world. So roughly every salad you eat in winter started its life in the fields outside this one Arizona town. You're welcome. The city's got a real river recreation scene on the Colorado, a genuinely fascinating old territorial prison you can tour, a Marine Corps air station anchoring the economy, and a winter visitor culture that swells the place with happy snowbirds every cold season. If you're enjoying the countdown so far and you're even slightly thinking about a move, do me a favor and hit subscribe, because this channel is your daily map to the best and cheapest places to actually live in America, and you're going to want the next one. Now, back to Yuma and the catch, because of course there's a catch. The flip side of being the sunniest place on Earth is that it is also one of the hottest. Yuma sees around 175 days a year that hit 90 degrees or higher. The all-time record was 124 degrees, set on a July afternoon in 1995 that I assume everyone who lived through it still talks about. So once again, the summer AC bill is your real rent here. But the winters? The winters are paradise, mild and sunny and perfect, which is exactly why 100,000 snowbirds can't be wrong. Yuma is cheap, sunny, and honest about what it is. What surprises people most about Yuma is how much actual life happens here once you get past the heat headlines. That winter lettuce industry isn't a fun fact, it's the backbone of the whole region, and during harvest season the fields around town hum with activity, and the local economy is genuinely busy. The Marine Corps Air Station brings in a steady flow of military families, which keeps the place grounded and gives it more services than a town this remote has any right to have. And the winter visitor scene is enormous. Every cold season, the population swells with snowbirds escaping the frozen north, filling the RV parks, the farmers markets, and the historic downtown, which has had real money poured into restoring it. So you're not moving to some empty desert outpost. You're moving to a town that practically feeds the country half the year and throws a months-long welcome party for retirees the other half. On $2,000 a month with cheap rent and cheap groceries, Yuma is one of the easiest budgets to balance on this entire list. You just have to make peace with the sun. Number 4. Kingman. Halfway up the list, and we're climbing in elevation, which means we're climbing in comfort. Kingman sits at about 3,300 feet, which makes its summers noticeably milder than the desert floor furnaces we just left. It's a town of around 30,000 people that wears its identity loud and proud. This is the heart of historic Route 66. If you've ever romanticized the great American road trip, the old neon signs, the diners, the classic car cruise-ins, the mother road stretching off into the desert, this is the town that lives that fantasy every single day. The restored old downtown and the historic Mojave County Courthouse give it a real sense of place, the kind of small-town America that's getting harder to find. And right on Kingman's doorstep are the Hualapai Mountains, with hiking, pine forests, and cooler mountain air, all of it free. No entrance fee, no resort markup, just nature you can walk into on a Tuesday. Geographically, the town is perfectly placed too, sitting roughly between Las Vegas, Phoenix, and the Colorado River, so a weekend escape in almost any direction is an easy drive. It's a tight-knit community where people still wave at each other, which is either charming or terrifying, depending on your personality. On the money, a one-bedroom in Kingman averages around $1,050. A two-bedroom closer to $1,250 to $1,290, with the overall cost of living sitting right around the national average. On $2,000 a month, that gives you a modest but real cushion, and the milder summers mean your power bill won't try to end you the way it would down in Yuma. The honest downsides? Rent here has been climbing fast, up around 10% in a year, the quickest riser in the middle of this pack. So the deal is good, but getting a little less good. And it's car-dependent with limited high-paying jobs. So, like most of this list, it rewards people who bring their income with them. But for cheap living with genuine character and free mountains out the back door, Kingman earns its spot. And the location really is the quiet superpower here. From Kingman, a day trip to the bright lights of Las Vegas is an easy drive. A run to the Colorado River for a day on the water is even easier. And the Grand Canyon's West Rim is within reach for an afternoon that'll make your out-of-town friends jealous. The Route 66 culture isn't just nostalgia bait either. There are classic car cruise nights, vintage motels with a neon that still buzzes after dark, diners that have been slinging the same plates for 50 years, and a steady trickle of road trippers from all over the world passing through to photograph the Mother Road. That gives a town of 30,000 people a surprisingly outward-facing, welcoming feel. It's small-town America with a steering wheel and a full tank of gas, close enough to big adventures that you never feel trapped, but cheap enough that you can actually afford to go on them. For the money and for the milder mountain edge summers, Kingman is a sneaky good middle of the pack. Number 3. Tucson. Time for a plot twist. Everything on this list so far has been a small town, and now we drop into an actual city. Tucson is the second largest city in Arizona, home to more than 500,000 people, and it is somehow still affordable. This is the pick for anyone who heard small desert town 4 entries ago and quietly panicked about being bored. Tucson has an international airport, real hospitals, nightlife, professional sports, and the buzzing energy of the University of Arizona running through the whole city. It is, no exaggeration, a UNESCO city of gastronomy, one of only a handful in the entire United States, which is a fancy way of saying the food here, especially the Mexican food, is absurdly good and cheap. Wrapped around the city is Saguaro National Park, all those iconic giant cactus arms reaching into the sky, the postcard image of the American Southwest right at the edge of town. Tucson sits a bit higher than Phoenix at around 2,400 feet, which makes its summers a touch more bearable, and the dramatic summer monsoon rolls in every July with lightning storms that are honestly worth the price of admission by themselves. 350 sunny days a year, a real arts and music scene, walkable neighborhoods near campus. This is a lot of city for the money. And here's the genuinely surprising part. One-bedroom apartments in Tucson hover right around $1,000, and in plenty of neighborhoods you can find them in the 800s. Even better, rents here have actually been falling, dropping a few percent over the past year while the rest of the country went the other way. Housing in Tucson runs below the national average, which for a city this size is borderline shocking. The one number to watch is transportation, which runs about 20% above average, so if you're driving a lot, build that into your budget. And being a bigger city, property crime is higher than in the sleepy small towns. But if you want full city amenities without a coastal city price tag, Tucson is the most well-rounded option on this entire list, and on $2,000 a month, you can absolutely make it sing. Let me give you a real sense of daily life here, because Tucson rewards the curious. The food alone could justify the move. This is the home of the Sonoran hot dog, bacon-wrapped and loaded and sold from carts all over town for a few dollars, and the Mexican food scene runs from humble taquerias to award-winning kitchens, almost all of it shockingly affordable. The university keeps the city young and loud in the best way, with live music, indie theaters, cheap student-friendly eats, and a calendar that never really empties out. Neighborhoods like the historic Sam Hughes district or the artsy stretches downtown give you that walkable, characterful living that bigger cities charge a fortune for. And then there's the desert itself, wrapped right around town, with hiking trails into the saguaro forests that are free and open at sunrise. You get a real city's options on a small town's budget. For anyone who wants culture, food, and people without paying Phoenix or coastal prices, Tucson is the value play of the whole list. 2 left, and these are the 2 that quietly do it better than everywhere else. Number 2. Sierra Vista. Okay, this is the one I keep recommending to people, and once you hear the climate, you'll understand why. Sierra Vista sits at 4,600 feet, tucked against the base of the Huachuca Mountains in the southeast corner of the state, and it might have the single most pleasant weather in all of Arizona. The temperature barely moves all year. Average highs around 72 degrees, average lows around 49. It runs 15 to 20 degrees cooler than Phoenix, gets nearly 280 sunny days, and every so often in winter it'll catch a light dusting of snow on the mountains, just to remind you that seasons exist. Remember the elevation rule? This is the payoff. Mild summers mean a small AC bill, which means your $2,000 stretches further here than in almost any town we've covered. About 45,000 people live here, and the town has a genuinely interesting double identity. On one side, it's a stable military town, anchored by Fort Huachuca, an army intelligence hub that keeps the local economy steady and reliable. On the other side, it is, and I promise I am not making this up, the official hummingbird capital of the United States. Up to 15 species of hummingbird pass through here, and the nearby San Pedro Riparian Conservation Area, protected by Congress back in the 80s, draws birdwatchers from all over the world with more than 350 recorded bird species. So your neighbors are Army intelligence officers and international bird nerds, which is a community blend I find genuinely delightful. On the budget, it's excellent. A one-bedroom averages around $940, the median rent sits near $930, and the overall cost of living runs about 8% below the national average. It was even named one of the best places to live for families, with 30-plus miles of shared-use trails, golf courses, and an indoor water park. The trade-offs are mild. The nightlife is quiet, the economy leans heavily on the base, and you're about 75 miles from Tucson when you need big city stuff. But for a low-cost, low-stress, perfect-weather life where your money goes a long way, Sierra Vista is about as good as it gets, which leaves exactly one town standing above it. And it's a weird one, in the best possible way. I want to linger on the outdoors here because this is where Sierra Vista quietly buries the competition. The Huachuca Mountains rise right out of town, and Ramsey Canyon, just minutes away, is famous around the world for its hummingbirds and its cool, shaded hiking. The San Pedro River corridor draws birdwatchers from across the planet during migration season, and if birding sounds boring to you, I get it. But spend one morning out there watching 15 species of hummingbirds zip around at eye level, and you'll understand why people plan entire vacations around it. Add in mountain trails, 2 golf courses, those 30-plus miles of paved paths, and weather that lets you actually use all of it nearly every day of the year, and you've got an outdoor lifestyle that wealthy retirees pay resort prices for elsewhere. Here it's just the default setting, on a cost of living that runs below the national average. Quiet nightlife is a fair trade for that. Sierra Vista is the responsible adult's perfect answer. But number one had to be a little less responsible and a lot more unforgettable. Number 1. Bisbee. If Sierra Vista is the sensible best value, Bisbee is the one that steals your heart and then hands you a low rent bill on the way out. This is the cheapest effective rent on the entire list, with one-bedroom apartments commonly running under $900 and an overall cost of living that lands somewhere between 8 and 15% below the national average depending on who's counting. But the price is not the reason Bisbee is number 1. The reason is that there is no other place on Earth quite like it. Bisbee is an old copper mining boomtown perched on the side of a mountain at 5,300 feet near the Mexican border. When the mines slowed down, the artists, the dreamers, and the gloriously eccentric moved in, and they turned it into one of the funkiest, most creative little communities in America. Picture steep, narrow, winding streets, colorful Victorian houses stacked up the canyon walls, staircases instead of sidewalks, and an entire historic downtown of art galleries, indie coffee shops, and quirky little bars built inside 100-year-old mining buildings. You can tour the old Queen Mine, go deep underground where the copper came from, and then walk back up into a town that feels like a movie set designed by someone who loves weird. It's only about 5,000 people, it's famously welcoming and open-minded, and the crime rate is wonderfully low. And the climate, once again, is the quiet hero. Up at that elevation, Bisbee's summers top out in the upper 80s and low 90s, 15 to 20 degrees cooler than the desert floor, with comfortable nights you can actually sleep through. That means low cooling bills, which means that rent under $900 leaves you with real, genuine money left over inside a $2,000 budget. The one honest catch is that Bisbee is tiny, so the rental market is thin, and when you go looking, there may not be a dozen options waiting for you. It's also fairly remote, about 90 minutes from Tucson, and those steep hills are no joke on your knees. But if you want maximum character, maximum value, and a town that feels like a genuine escape from the rest of the world, Bisbee is the one. Cheapest rent, coolest summers, and more personality than cities 100 times its size. A worthy number 1. And here's the thing about Bisbee that the numbers can never quite capture. It has a soul. The town throws itself a staircase race every year where people sprint up the same brutal mountain steps that residents climb just to get groceries, which tells you everything about the local sense of humor. There are music venues in century-old buildings, a thriving little theater scene, antique shops and bookstores tucked into the hillside, and a population that chose weird and affordable over polished and expensive on purpose. You can buy a strong coffee, browse art made by your neighbors, and watch the desert light change color on the old mining works above town, all in an afternoon, all on a budget that wouldn't cover a single overpriced lunch in a coastal city. It's the kind of place where strangers become regulars, and regulars become family. For a single person, a retiree, or a remote worker who wants their money to go far and their life to feel like an adventure, Bisbee is the rare town that delivers both at once. Lowest rent, coolest summers, biggest personality. That's why it's number 1. So there's your countdown. 7 Arizona towns where $2,000 a month buys an actual life, not just survival. And if you noticed a pattern, you've cracked the whole code. The towns that stretch your money the furthest aren't always the very cheapest on paper. They're the ones high enough and cool enough that the summer doesn't quietly rob you through your air conditioner. Cottonwood gives you scenery if you'll do the math. Bullhead City and Yuma give you rock-bottom prices if you can survive the heat. Kingman and Tucson give you the best mix of character and amenities. And Sierra Vista and Bisbee, the two at the top, give you the rarest thing of all in 2026, which is a good life that you can comfortably afford. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these 7 would you actually move to, and which one terrifies you? Quick recap before you decide. Cottonwood for the wine and red rocks, Bullhead City for the river, Yuma for the sunshine and rock-bottom prices, Kingman for the open road, Tucson for big city life on a small city budget, Sierra Vista for that perfect mild weather, and Bisbee for the cheapest rent and the biggest soul. Drop your pick in the comments, because I read them, and I will absolutely judge your heat tolerance. If this saved you from overpaying for rent somewhere you couldn't afford, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, because every week we go hunting for the best and most affordable places to live, retire, and start over in America. And your dream town might be in the next video. Your lease renewal is coming whether you're ready or not. Be ready.